Here this evening with Winter High School head football coach Dan Aaker. Coach, transition is a term you hear a lot in basketball, but your Warriors have been incredible in transition on the football field in the last 3 weeks. You have to be happy with how the team is converting turnovers into scores.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I mentioned last week, we haven't been really that happy with the number of turnovers we've had, but what we did with the turnovers we've gotten, I think we did a pretty good job, and especially in the last 3 weeks. And turn them in. Anytime turnovers can be such a big momentum boost for either teams, but when you can turn them into scores, they're even that much more effective. And we're getting better. We need to continue that because that could be a big part here as the season moves on. Once we get into postseason.
In the three elements of the game, special teams has really improved as the season has progressed. Who are some of the players that have had an impact on your coverage and return teams? And also, can you touch on how Sam Nas has progressed with kickoffs?
Sam has really, I think, lengthened his kickoffs pretty good here. He's actually had, I think, 6 or 7 touchbacks in the last 5 to 4 games. And that's a big deal because field position is such a big part of it. I think since St. Thomas More game on, I've been really happy with especially our kickoff team. And that's a lot of sophomores and juniors. A lot of those guys don't maybe get on the field a lot, so they really seem to be taking a lot of pride to get down there and make a play. And special teams is a big part of it. As I said, field position can be a huge role in games. We don't really want to be noted for our punt team, and we don't really want to be noted for our kick return team because that means you're giving up points or not moving the ball the way you want. But our coverage teams, I think, have been really good, and that field position is another critical factor in any game. So I hope they continue doing that.
This week's opponent is the Wagner Red Raiders. Is this going to be another team that tries to spread the field on offense?
What we've seen from them is they haven't really changed much. They've been doing since we started playing them. They'll run some double tight eye stuff and try to run the ball. But once teams have kind of maybe stopped that part of their aspect of what they want to do, they'll spread it out in some 2x2 double slot stuff and some trip stuff. And that's what we hope to do. We don't want to shut their running game down and enforce them in those situations like we talk a lot week by week. But they're not scared too. They just they haven't had quite the athletes this year as they've had in the past to be really efficient in doing that. And I think honestly they may be better trying to run the ball, and so we may see that. But we've seen both things from them, so we've tried to prepare for both.
What is the message you stressed to your team about tonight's game with Wagner?
Well, we need to be playing crisp, clean. We got to play a really good game from that aspect. Penalties, not putting the ball on the ground, and making smart decisions. But I think it also ties into being confident and playing with emotion. And we mentioned the last few weeks about being playoff ready, and it's here. I mean, this is really treated like a playoff game. I mean, our opponent maybe not be the playoff caliber, but we need to play like it is. And I like what we've seen in practice this week. I think that we're pretty focused. They understand where they're at in the season, and we need to be crisp. And we talked to them this week about Wagner's not going to blank the playoffs, whether they would upset us or not. So they've got seniors on their team that they know this is going to be their last game. They're going to play like it. And what you got to do with teams like that is you got to get out and start and play the way you're capable of playing right away, and not give them any thoughts that they're going to hang with you. And so I think the start of the game tonight's going to be really big for us. And but we need to be playing our best football right now. I think we've had some really good weeks of practice, but that's got to transfer in the game. And so hopefully that's what we see tonight.
Coach, turn back the clock. You talked about this being playoffs. Turn back the clock to 2009. Tell us about the emotion of that Wagner winner semifinal game here at Warrior Field, and really the magnitude of how that win has helped you accomplish what your team has done in the last 5 years.
That was a heck of a football game, probably right up there. The two most memorable, this may be weird to say that, but for me, the two semifinal games in 2009 and 2012, maybe even more memorable than the state championship games that they eventually led to. That game was different than 2012 because it was so physical. 2012, a lot of points being scored. I don't think any team really stopped each other. But that Wagner game in 2009 was just a slugfest, and they were good. They were really good. And what does that mean for building on? I think that carried over a little bit from 2008 when we beat St. Thomas More in the semis. That's when I really think we got the confidence going and really playing good football, and it's really kind of stretched out. But that was big because it was a step to get to the Dome again. and that game came down to extra points. They had a chance to. They went for 2 to take the lead, and we held them out of there. And a couple big plays, but boy, you look at the names of the Koshers and the Gregor, and we had a lot of Kosher kids. These games have been. They're very similar to Bonham in everything they do. They're physical. They're hard nosed. They run a lot of the same stuff offensively. So preparing for both those teams is kind of the same thing we do. But yeah, that was a really good game. We've had some really good battles with Wagner. I mean, they're just always will they'll hit you, and they've just been really physical games.
Looks like we're locked into the 2 spot in our region, and we'll host Bonham for the 3rd year in a first round game. They have a big game with Parkston tonight as well. Yes, SESD certainly shaping up to be a major player in the state playoff system again, correct, Coach?
Yeah, and they have been. And I would agree with you. I think that everything we have, unless Bonham would upset Parkston tonight, which would be a huge upset in my opinion. It's looking like it'll be Bonham again, and that's a tough first round matchup. We saw them earlier, and it's the third, like you said, the 3rd year in a row. We know each other pretty well, and they know us. But it's a good conference. It was without question a great addition, not only for football but for I think all our sports to see those teams, and we're developing some really good rivalries within the conference. But yeah, the Bonham and Winter and Parkston I think are 3 of the top 6 I would say for sure in the state. So it says a lot about the conference, but it makes it tough for region play. I kind of go back and forth a little bit on the region play. I think proximity is always nice, but boy, when you have to see those teams right away in the first round, it's not an easy matchup.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Best of luck tonight against the Wagner Red Raiders.